Okay, I think everybody's in. Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us at our second session for the Women and Minorities in Business series that we're hosting here on Zoom. If you missed the first session, which was presented by our wonderful Sandy Ratliff, you can, I'll send it out to you guys in a link, but it's easy to find online. And she had some really great information on selling to the Commonwealth and all the benefits, and exactly like a really great to do, like how to get through all the screens that might be intimidating for some. So my name is Billy Roberts. I'm with Virginia Community Capital. Virginia Community Capital is a community development financial institution that provides lending and investing in community innovation services. We're delighted to have you join us for this empowering 10-week journey dedicated to fostering success and inclusivity. This series is designed to provide women and minority business leaders with the essential skills and strategies to excel in today's ever-evolving workplace environment. Today's session will be recorded for training and educational purposes. I do want to note that in order to keep the webinar flowing and to stay within our 1-hour goal, we have muted everyone. However, we definitely want to hear from you. So if you have any questions, you can put them down in the chat, and I'll kind of direct Carl as we go throughout to answer some of those. But of course, we can always answer them at the end. There's so much value in asking questions and engaging in thoughtful discussions. I really do hope that you do participate. Now, without further ado, let's get ready to absorb some invaluable information, network with like-minded professionals, and ignite a path of continuous growth and development together. We are truly excited about the unique content and discussions that this series will offer, and we can't wait to continue throughout the next 8 weeks with it. Please let me introduce you to one of our remarkable speakers who will be sharing their insights with us during the series. Please meet Carl Knoblock. Carl is the District Director for the Virginia SBA District Office. Prior to working for SBA, he was the District Director for Western Pennsylvania SBA District Office. Prior to becoming the District Director, Carl owned and operated small businesses from manufacturing all the way to the service industry. In addition, he served as C-level executive for innovative startups, and he has been involved in more than 50 crowdsourcing projects. He's also a foster parent for over 13 years and has served our country in the U.S. Navy. Carl will be talking to us today about side hustles, avoiding scams, and what MLMs and pyramid schemes are. So take it away, Carl. Thank you so much for being here today.
Oh, thank you so much, Billy. It's great to be here. And welcome to all of you for partaking this journey. Like I said, it's a new experience that we're all trying out to try to connect with women and minorities face those unique challenges. So hopefully this will help. So I'm going to try to share my screen. Got it?
Got it.
Okay. All right. Well, as we say, technology always has its little issues, and I really feel disappointed. Sandy would have been so proud of me. I actually made up some whiteboards. So unfortunately, you weren't able to see them. So we'll go with it from this thing. The one thing I want to point out as we talk about these different things, it's all about opportunities. There's opportunities always around us. But the one thing I always tell people, be cautious. And we'll go through that as we work through this process to really think things out when people are offering you opportunities. So the first piece is we're going to do side hustles. Then we're going to do avoiding business scams, and then the pyramid scheme versus the multi-level partner marketing, or MLM. And as you can see, I put them in different colors because what I want you to say is side hustles are good. Business scams, really cautious, and then pyramid schemes, no. So it's kind of trying to break it down that way for you. And what I'll do is at the end of each section, I'll at that point open it up for questions. So if people have anything in the chat or anything, I'll try to answer them at that point in time. Go ahead, next slide, Billy. Okay, side hustles. One things with side hustles, lots of times people start them out as part-time and eventually make the decision whether it's going to be a full-time type business or if it's just going to stay that part-time as a supplemental income. One of the big things, depending on what your side hustle is do you need certifications? And those are things that you need to think about ahead. Lots of times when people start these side hustles, there are things they like to do at home. And they think, and people say, hey, you should start a business with this, or you should start selling these at the local markets or put them online. And people jump into it, and then they find out they're not in compliance with certain regulations because they don't have certain certifications in that. So always be aware of that and do your due diligence with that. If you are starting to sell product, whether it's something you eat or whether it's something somebody takes, I would highly recommend that you have professional insurance because in our world today, people like to sue for anything. And this just gives you a little bit extra protection if somebody wants to go to the process. It's not that expensive, and it's just protecting you and your also personal side of your business. Square has done a great job with its tools that you can pretty much do your whole operations through Square. So it's something to be aware of. If you're halfway tech savvy, you can do a nice job with that. Then also depending on, once again, what your side hustle is, do you need bonding? So typically this is people that do home repairs, those type things. They may be asked to do a project, and actually the owner may ask, do you have bonding capacity? Because that kind of gives them an indication of how big you are. The other thing is that if you're looking for a side hustle, as I say, the great search engine Google, you can just do the search and they will give you always the best businesses to jump into to create opportunities. Next slide, Billy. Okay, so I threw some up here just so you can see some different ideas. So like freelancing, this is a big one where people have their talents, whether they're artisans, writers, marketers. The list is infinite. The one you always hear about lots of times is Fiverr. And those are people that are in there basically marketing their services that they can bring to the table. You know, it's web design, whatever it may be, they provide the service. And, you know, they have the ratings and everything else. It's a really good tool. Everybody I've ever known that's used the tool has been happy with it. The one thing that I find very fascinating is the price differences that they show for their services. And like I said, people have gone high end to low end, and they've all been happy with it. Upwork is another one, and Freelancer is another type of tool for if you want to launch your side hustle in freelancing, or if you were looking things to help your side hustle, this is a location that could possibly assist you with that. The big one that's a big boom right now is pet sitting or dog walking. Everybody loves animals, mostly. And the thing is that these businesses have become very profitable because pet owners are very concerned about their pets. And they will sit here and go to extreme measures to make sure they're taken care of. I've done my share of pet sitting, so I totally understand that because they don't want the pets left alone. So go sit with that. And then, like I said, dog walking and then cleaning up after the dogs. That's another big business. So there's a whole variety available in that arena. Even the clothing line. Those are all things that have come out here really in the last 5 years that have exploded, and people just love to buy those knickknacks. The other thing is tech setup services. You know, as we talk about, we all have technology. And the one thing is, there are certain things we're really good at on our technology, and there are others that, we kind of know how it works, but if it hiccups, we don't know what to do. So there's a lot of small businesses that are basically there just to set, like the simple thing of how to set up your smartphone and to give you all the notifications you're looking for and those type things. So there's people that are doing that. The one thing I stress to people is make sure if there are certifications required, especially if you're going to be doing a particular representative of a particular brand in that, those are things you kind of have to be on the lookout for, that they may have that requirement. And once again, bonding may be an issue, but that's typically in the little bit bigger operation, not at your home base level. Another big growth market is blogging. It's amazing how many people, as I say, when they were going up through school, they hated writing and everything, but yet this is one of the big avenues that are generating revenue for people, and also great marketing product line where people are blogging to market their product or services, and people are connecting into them that way also. So blogging has been a proactive for your business, and it's also proactive from the standpoint of an actual business. So don't lose sight of that as you go forward. And once again, this would tie to Fiverr, Upwork, Freelancer, where it's actual bloggers available to you. One market that's really growing, especially in our rural areas, is senior sitting or companions. And this is where people just need a break, and they go out to run errands and things like that. And somebody's there to sit with the person or to walk with them, take them on activities, those type things. So this is a market that's becoming, it's growing by double digits. And a lot of people don't realize that these type entities are out there, but it's something to be aware of. Typically, CPR is the minimum requirement. There are organizations there, as I identified here, care.com, Sitter City, and that will also have their specific requirements for people doing these type tasks. And like I said, one thing you always want to make sure is I highly recommend that you have some type of insurance, because you are taking care of people. And if something, heaven forbid, would happen, you want to make sure that you're protected as a company. And the same thing goes hand in hand with the next one, with babysitting, childcare. It's having that insurance protect you. Heaven forbid something happens, you are protected and know that you were doing the right thing as the caregiver. Once again, this one's a little bit more extensive, where people are looking at CPR, first aid, background checks. They're typically much more aggressive with the babysitting, childcare, but some of these same things may carry over to senior city and companions, as people are looking for people to take care of their parents and things like that. Another one that's replacing, as we say, the secretary, is the virtual personal assistant. We know we're all juggling schedules, and people say, well, I can't afford that. These are actually very reasonably priced to kind of help keep your life in perspective and in control. So I tell people, don't shy away from these. These are opportunities. And you see TaskRabbit, Thumbtack are a couple of locations that you can look at. And then if you have products that you're selling, a lot of people do it at the local markets, festivals. I always tell people, make sure that if you do a festival or local market, see what you kind of return you're getting, because if you're not getting anything, it may not be that your product's bad. It may be just the location. So you may have to take that into consideration as you look at this type entity, because lots of times I see people doing these type of events, especially the festivals and things, put out good money, And then they're highly upset afterwards that they didn't even recover the costs for what they paid to sign up. And as I've stressed to them, I said, did you actually look at potentially what people go there? Because it may not be the people that buy your product. And then also understand if you do festivals, especially if you're doing arts and things like that, if you say, I'm going to do a craft fair, remember, you have hundreds and thousands of other people that are doing a craft fair, and they're all kind of selling the same product. So remember, your competition's right there in front of you. And so you may not have the best sales. And at that point, for that type show, it's location, location, location. Where are you located? So think about the last time you went to one of these, and I'll just talk about candles. How many candles can you smell before you just finally say, I cannot smell anything anymore? And the next place you go to, it's candles. You say, I need some, you just buy it because your nose is just literally worn out from trying to smell so many different ones from different businesses. So keep that in mind if you're in that type side hustle. Go ahead, Billy, to the next one. Okay, when you're doing the side hustles, one of the things I always try to stress to people, is it actually a business or is it a hobby business? And what I mean by that is a business is going to make you money. A hobby business, lots of times people are just looking for praise to say how nice their product is or how great they did a job. That's all they're really looking for. And they're really not looking at the money aspect. So I always tell people kind of understand why you're doing this. And if you are in the business side of it, make sure you cost yourself properly. What I find in a lot of side hustles, they either way underprice themselves or they way overprice themselves. So keep that in mind when you're looking at your business. And remember, your costing can change based on the type of event you do. So remember that as you look at this through it. And then the biggest thing, and I know Sandy preaches this all the time, and so does Billy, you got to know your customer. If you truly know your customer, you have the chance for great success. What I find 9 times out of 10, when I ask that simple question, tell me your customer, I get the standard answer, everyone. Well, as soon as I hear that, I know you truly don't understand who's going to buy your product. Because no matter what, some products, you may have the best product in the world, but your price may be too low. And somebody that's willing to pay big money will look at your product, no matter how good it is, they'll say it's too cheap because of the price. So understand that you have to realize that customer will dictate what your pricing will be. That customer will dictate how big your market is and what your growth potential is. So remember that. The two big things to make yourself successful in side hustle is costing yourself properly and knowing your customer. Okay, Billy? All right. Before I go to the next one, does anybody have questions about side hustles?
I don't see anything in the chat, but if you guys have
Okay.
a question, go ahead and speak up.
Does anybody have a side hustle at this time? I'll say silence means no. So with that, I will go to the next aspect. This is probably one of the biggest growth markets right now, unfortunately, that's impacting business. It's business scams. And it's really unfortunate because a lot of businesses are taken down, especially small ones. And then they're also caught when they're caught, where somebody is taking their business identity and things like that, that they're having to deal with the repercussions of proving that it's not them and trying to deal with the costs that are being thrown at them that what they promised and they did not deliver. So please understand where your identity information goes can come back and haunt you later if you're not careful. One of the biggest things I try to stress in this business identity theft that always concerns me, especially in small businesses, for income tax purposes, I tell people get your EIN number. Do not use your Social Security number because that opens up a plethora of opportunities for people that are trying to take your information. So I always stress to everyone, get the EIN number versus using your Social Security number to identify your business. Lots of times people say, well, it's really easy with my Social Security number. Yes, but in today's world, that means it's out there for everyone to see. So keep that in mind as you go forward. Also, understand people are going to reach out to you, especially if you're on social media and that, and try to connect with you. And eventually, what they'll do initially is just touch base and build a relationship to get really comfortable with you. And then at that point, they start obtaining your information by just simple questions, and you don't even give it a thought because you feel you have a relationship. Another one, this was really big during COVID, imposter scams, especially from us, SBA, where people are saying you have money coming to you or you owe money to us. It created a lot of turmoil. IRS is the typically big one that gets out there. And I can tell you the scammers are using their emblems, everything to catch the identity. The one thing I stress to everyone, you always tell them to send it to you an email and look where the email comes from. If it doesn't have a .gov to it, then it's not from the federal government. So just realize that. They'll come close. A lot of people use SBA.com, and people immediately think that's us, and it's not. We're a gov, G-O-V. And so keep that in mind as you, if you hear something from what I call a federal agency, it has to have a .gov, and you can pretty much contact the local office of those agencies, and they will tell you if it's a legit request or not. This is a big one with the business lending scams. People are always looking for money, and because it's low dollar amounts, like I say to people in the $5,000 to $10,000 range, these entities are just popping up and they'll offer you the opportunity to say how easy it is and that. And then, but people don't read the little fine print. And all of a sudden, they're either paying to get the money, which then all of a sudden you're not getting anything because they've already taken what they wanted. Or two, they get you to buy in initially with something low, and they say it's just to see if you can pay it back. You pay it back, and you think it's legit, and then they come back and give you something bigger. You take it, but you don't look at the print then. And what you realize is they're charging triple-digit interest on your loan that you just got from them. So be aware. They will do different ways to get you interested in them, and then sit there at that point, have control of you. And with you trying to get out of it, once again, you're going to pay legal fees, lawyers, everybody to try to get out of it. And that's time, effort, energy, and unfortunately, your own money that you're having taken away to deal with it. And maybe, and at the end, you get nothing. So just realize that. As soon as people know you're a business, especially a new business, and they know that you're probably ordering things, and they know by your business, especially if you get a website and that, all of a sudden you'll see invoices coming and payment requests. And if you're not keeping accurate records, and this has happened to a lot of businesses, they assume it's something they got and they forgot to pay it. So they just send the money. And then once the entity knows that, they just keep invoicing because it looks like a recurring payment. And the businesses all of a sudden one day realize, typically at income tax time, that it's not legit. And now they're trying to resolve the issue and everything. But as I tell people, if you've made it a direct connect where you're literally let them pull the money for your business bank account and things like that, you're really on the short end. You literally have to close everything down at that time and start over where you have your money in that, because as soon as they know they're aware of that, your money's gone and they're gone. So please pay attention to that because this is one that is really hurting a lot of small businesses, especially when they're starting up in that, because they're buying a lot of things and the record keeping is not really good. And that's probably the one thing I stress to everyone. And this is the one thing IRS stresses every day is keep good books right from the start. It will help you in the long run, not only from the scams, but also dealing with the regulators like the IRS potentially in the future. Then ad-based scams, especially on social media and things like that. People will sit there, give you a price point and sit here and think that they're representing that particular social media. And you go forward with it, thinking it's going to be a good, and you're waiting to see your product up there, and then all of a sudden it's not there. We all use office supplies. And now that this has become more of an online service versus you go to the local stores, people are just ordering the products and they'll get things initially. And then all of a sudden, nothing comes anymore. And once they get that recurring payment setup schedule, people don't think about it because they'll say, okay, I ordered a box of a box of paper. Well, it's going to take them a period of time to go through that, but they're on a recurring schedule. So they don't give it thought and the bill's coming and they're still paying on it, but they're getting no office supplies. Or they're getting office supplies that are no good. The classic is ink pens. I was just at an event the other day and they were giving out the ink pens and I watched a person go through 20 ink pens and not one of them wrote because they wanted an ink pen that wrote. And so they tried them all. And so it did not reflect well on that business that was given out. And unfortunately, it was a lending institution, so it was really bad. So be aware of this. The other thing is people providing you a check. We see those in the mail all the time, where here's a check for you. All you have to do is pay this amount, and it will activate at that point, and this is how much money you're going to get from it. Or they come back and say, hey, you did an overpayment, and and so they work it with you, and then all of a sudden they are reversed and say, oh, we made a mistake. You actually did not pay us enough. And so realize these things are ongoing. And what it is, it's all about trust. They are really good at convincing you that they're legit. And then all of a sudden you're just blindsided. And then you're spending all kinds of time and energy trying to clean everything up. And if you have all the other things that are going on in your life, this is just an extra stressor you really don't need on your platter. So please do your due diligence. Ever in doubt, you can reach out to the lending institutions. Everybody walk in and ask, this came from you. Is it legit? Get that documented. So if anything does happen, you kind of have yourself protected with these things. So please really pay attention. This is one of the big areas now, especially with social media, that is taking small businesses down. So please be aware of this. Next slide, Billy. If it sounds too good to be true, it is. And we've heard that many a time, but people still, for whatever reason, keep buying into it. Do your due diligence. And the reason I'm talking about training, just in case you have people that are either volunteering or employees of yours, make sure they're properly trained. Lots of times that's where we see mistakes happen is the people are just believing what the person's saying. And so they just go ahead and agree to it. And the owner never is aware of it until it's too late. So please make sure if you have volunteers or people you're training or employees, make sure they're trained in understanding how scams work and things like that. Does anybody have questions related to this?
I don't see anything in the chat right now, Carl.
Okay. Then I'm going to assume it's all good from a standpoint. So we can go to the last section. Okay, pyramids. You've heard these talk about, and what it is, it's a concept of I start something, a concept, and then I convince 10 people to put money into it. And then they convince 10 of them to get into it. So I'm up to 100, but it all trickles down to the one person. So they're making money hands over foot. And as you go further up the scale, so you're up to 10,000, you're one of the 10,000, your money's going to come less that you can potentially make. But the way they sell it, they think you're going to make big money from this because all this pyramid can do is keep growing, and growing, that everybody wants this service that is being provided or opportunity. So most of the time you'll pay a fee and then you're paid recruitment fees, and that's basically getting enrollees. That's how this system works is you got to bring people on. And the people that do really well at this as a scheming, they're just great salespeople. They know how to talk it and they get people to buy into it. And it's typically not a product. It can be on occasions, but most of the time it's an investment or an idea. And that's what people buy in because they think it's a potential get-rich scheme that they can make lots of money and don't have to put a lot of time and energy into it. We see even, I always laugh when I'm driving down the road and, you see the sign up, easy money. And I'm going, okay, here we go again, where somebody's trying to convince somebody that how they can make quick money. And they have to put hardly any hours into it to make it happen. So that's kind of how the pyramid works. And that's why they call it a pyramid. It's just literally, it builds and it's purely building mass across the process. Next slide, Billy, please. So Avocare is a product that got caught in the pyramid. And then the one that we always hear about is Bernie Madoff with this Ponzi scheme. And as they say, the rich got caught, but also common people got caught by the scheme. So we always try to stress to people, really pay attention when somebody's bringing you a new idea. And today with the social media and everything, apps are being created. So everybody's creating things that it's going to make everybody's life easier. It's going to be quicker. It's going to be cheaper. And all you have to do is get people to sign on. And this is your commission for doing that, or getting other people to sign to sell the product for you. And then you get your commission from them also. So that's how this runs and goes. So please be aware of that this is a growing market thanks to technology. Next slide, please, Billy. Once again, this is kind of the theme of this whole thing. Sounds too good to be true. It is. You really have to do your due diligence, and you can check with regulatory uh, entities to make sure that the business that's being showcased is legit or not. You can go to actually the local police. You can go to the inspector generals, attorney generals. They can typically tell you if these are legit operations or not. Next slide, please, Billy. Okay, the multi-level partner marketing, MLM. They're legal, but then also people say they're just on the verge of being illegal. So you kind of really have to pay attention to these entities and what it's giving you in return. And there's plenty of stories about MLMs, those that are what I call do a good job for the people that sell their products and things like that. And then there are others that are just pure horror stories. It's the same concept as franchises, same way. So you sell products, it's a direct sale. So it's knowing your customer. And I'm going to give you kind of an idea about customer. Most of you have had Cold Stone product that's like ice cream. And people love it, but it's really expensive. And then, and these are franchises. And then they give you a franchise in a community that really can't afford Cold Stone, but they give you the franchise there, and you're supposed to make money in a community that doesn't really buy Cold Stone except on a rare treat occasion, and that's it. So it's understanding who that customer is. So if you're going to sell something, make sure the customer that you're going to sell to is actually in your footprint, so you can take advantage of it as you move. And then understanding their requirements. So, example, one of the key questions is if you're going to sell the product is when you buy to sell the product, one of the key questions is what's my territory? How much area am I allowed to cover? And they give it to you. Then they say, okay, the area that's next to me, do I have first right to get it if somebody shows an interest in it? Those are things you want to find out, because at the end of the day, if they can sell it to somebody else, they make money from it. But the fact is that now you got a competitor selling the same product you're selling. And this has happened to people time in and time out, not finding out all the nuances and details. Not saying the product's not good. It's just the fact of the way their setup is that ends up hurting you. And then the other thing I tell people, when you jump into these type things, you really got to be a good salesperson. So if you're good at sales, this works great for you. If you're not good at sales, this is not the arena you want to be in, because it's about closing deals. And a salesperson knows how to do that. But if you're kind of that person that wants to educate and things like that, this is not the arena you want to be in. Next slide, please, Billy. So here's some that you've probably heard of. Amway, LifeGood, doTERRA, Neolife, Norwex, Avon, Mary Kay, Tupperware. Tupperware was the one, gosh, years ago. That was the one that was the market. Those of us that are older, our grandmothers had the Tupperware, and they went to a Tupperware party and had their collection that would last for years with it. But the one thing I want to point out here is Amway was at one time identified as a pyramid model, and Amway had to change how it's sold to become an MLM. Because originally they did a heavy focus on recruiting people to sell the product to build the pyramid, and not really focusing on selling the product per se. And so they kind of got caught with that. And that's happened to other MLMs where they kind of got to watch what they're really trying to push. And so that's why I always tell people kind of pay attention. And then even if you've been selling the product for years, anytime there's a leadership change or anything in the organization, you want to understand what their focus is, because at that point it may impact you that it may not be a legit MLM anymore. So be aware that anytime there's changes within the organization, you kind of have to take a much harder look at it, what it's potentially going to look like. Next slide, please, Billy. So the one thing that is facts about MLMs, greater than 90% of the people that do these products either lose money or make very little. So it's not anything that's going to end up being really a full-time business or even a legit part-time business. The people that do well in this, as I said before, they're natural salespeople. They know how to sell. And that's where they really leap out there with it. They know how to get parties set up and everything else. So very different. And like I said, that's just a small group of people that really have that talent. I cannot stress enough, do your due diligence, because there's thousands of these MLMs that are running out there. And you kind of have to understand what their model. And as soon as one MLM catches on, you will see 10 others pop up that kind of sell the same product line, similar to it, saying they're good. And the fact is, they're not going to really give you any revenue because the other one's just too well established at that point. So be aware of that. The nice thing with MLMs, the startup costs are much lower. So it's a lower investment to get you going, to move you forward. And the thing is, it is cheaper than a franchise. But it's the same concept in a franchise, is you really have to do your homework on the organization that's providing you those tools, because some will say, we'll provide you market research. And you'll think, oh gosh, that's great. They're going to give you more. And so you pay the fee. And then what you get is you get a report from the U.S. Census, and it just tells you how many people are there and what ages they are and things. And that's their marketing report. So remember, if that's the fact that they offer that, you just say, let me see a sample one. So that way you can kind of see, and that's a reference point for you to kind of understand how much work they actually put into it before they give you your supplies that they want you to sell and the training they provide for you to assist you. And that's the other thing, is who are their trainers to help you train you to sell the product line. They're just only really interested in as I call it, commission based, where they get commissions off you. They're just looking at, I got the body, and I just train them real quick, and let me go find another body. So that way I just keep building my mass, and eventually it'll balance itself out. So please really pay attention to this. And then also, is this operation going to be a part-time operation versus a full-time operation? Because it's about dedicating time, allocating your time. Anything you do in any of your business entities, it's time. And you always got to sit here and determine, when is that going to happen? Especially if you have kids or extracurricular activities. These are all things you have to take into account when you're looking at these type ventures. Next slide, please, Billy. So I like to close out by saying that know your customer. I cannot stress that enough. When you know your customer, it's unbelievable what you can accomplish and how much your business can grow. Costing properly, this is probably the biggest taboo in small business. They underprice themselves. because they're afraid that people won't pay for it. But remember, if you know your customer, you know what they pay. If you don't know your customer, then you're going to underprice yourself because you're just trying to make sure that they buy it. And that's not the way to do it. Remember, always, it's a business. And it's, as I always try to stress to people, it's business, it's not personal. So you always got to keep that separation so it doesn't impact your personal life. That's my business. When I walk out the door, it's done. Now I focus on my personal life and I keep that energy. When you start mixing the two together, it becomes very tough for both sides to succeed. So please always really work hard at trying to turn that light switch off when you walk out of the business, even if it's a home-based business. When you walk out of that room, it's done until the next time you go in that room for business. Be cautious because there's a lot of people that are going to offer you great opportunities and it sounds really good. And they'll use a case example just to entice you. Remember, I use it on the same concept as social media. Think about people say how great a place is to eat at and everything. And what they've done is just paid people to actually go on Yelp and things like that and to say how great it is. So is the food really that great, or is it who they actually paid to actually do this kind of stuff for them? So remember that. Be cautious on anything you hear and do your due diligence. I cannot stress that enough. The better you do your homework, the better you're going to get the return you're looking for in the right type business that fits you and makes you happy. And that's the most important thing. Please always take a business that's going to make you happy. Do not take a business that you think is going to make you a bunch of money because you will not be happy. And with that, I am done. Are there any questions?
Let's see. I'm going to stop sharing the screen if you're finished. I don't see anything in the chat. We're close to time, but I do want to mention, Carl, are you guys seeing that it's a docu-series on what are those leggings? They're the real colorful, the LuLaRoe or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
That was an interesting docu-series. And I thought I would have one feeling at the end of it, but it was actually, I was a little torn because I think they have labeled that as an MLM. But one of the things that I thought was a little interesting was they weren't really they were like targeting, I guess, the women, right? More than talking about the product and how good the product was. It was the recruiting part, right?
Right.
Like that's what kind of made it a little a little different. So is that one of the things that you would suggest? Just pay attention to?
Yeah, I mean, you got to remember, women are a perfect target.
Yeah.
Because they are more times apt to listen from their heart versus to listen to the head.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what gets people because they sit there and they say, I love the product. And so they're a believer in it and they run with it and not really understanding, does everybody else have that same thought process? Why do you love it? It could be for any particular reason. As I always say, we're all built differently. And so a pair of jeans may fit great on me, but the next person gets the same, that's sort of built like me, it doesn't fit the same. So, I try to stress to people all the time, please never do anything just because you think it's great for you.
Well, yeah, and it was what you mentioned it a lot. Like if it seems too good to be true, it probably is. Well, that was the thing. Most of the people selling that product were work-at-home moms or stay-at-home moms that wanted like extra somehow to contribute to their homes, like maybe for vacation or save up for Christmas or something like that. And yeah, it was really interesting, and it worked what they did, and
Yeah,
it worked.
and you hit on, and that was an excellent point you just said right there. This is a time of the year that you'll actually see these things pop up
Hmm.
because it's for Christmas presents. Here's some side income you can make on the side so you can get the gifts you want. The other one is at income tax season, right after uh, April, May timeframe, because people get their tax returns,
Yeah.
get the refunds. So people know they have money.
Yep.
So they sit there and offer them opportunities that, you could actually capitalize and make more money from the money you just got back from the IRS. So
Yep.
those are
That's
two
right.
time periods that, you'll kind of see that activity a little bit more.
Yeah, great point. Great point. Okay, I don't see any more questions in the chat or anything like that. I'll go ahead and close this out since we're right at time. Um, but you guys, we want to ensure that you guys are always getting comprehensive sessions from us. So after this workshop in your email, I will send a feedback form. So if you have time, please just fill that out. It'll be a short little survey on how we can improve and move forward. I know that you guys are all interested in the content today, and those of you that are in service organizations, we want you to be able to share it as well. So I'll share the video and the slides with you after this as well. And if you need any help, any further assistance, have any questions that pop up, Sandy, Carl, and we're all here. We'll give you guys any kind of time and assistance that you need to help personally, or if you know someone that needs help. And also, I just wanted to say, Carl, we're really grateful for your time and your wisdom and the invaluable knowledge that you shared with us today. You've made the session really exceptional, and we look forward to the opportunity of welcoming you back in the future. Thank you for each and every one of you for taking your time today. We really appreciate you being here today. We look forward to seeing you in our upcoming sessions. I just wanted to note that next week's session will actually be on Thursday at 11 a.m. We had to move to a couple of days down because we have a staff retreat in Richmond that we'll be at. But our topic will be transitioning from surviving to thriving. I'm really excited about that topic.
Mm-hmm.
And our guest speaker is Cherise Chambers. She is is a business advisor for our Capital Region Small Business Development Center, and she's also an entrepreneur who has a ton of energy. So she should be able to give us some really good insight onto those topics. Thank you guys, and until next time, stay inspired and stay connected.
Bye bye.
Again, Carl, really appreciate you.
No problem.